Okay, let's talk about the chess queen. You probably think of her as the most powerful piece on the board, this absolute wrecking ball. But what if I told you she started out as one of the weakest? It's a story you almost certainly don't know.
And that's really the big puzzle we're going to unpack here. How did this one piece go from being practically useless to the single most dominant force in the entire game? It's one of the most incredible transformations in history.
To get to the bottom of it, we have to go way back. I'm talking all the way back to 6th century India, where an early version of chess called Chaturanga was being played.
You see, in this ancient game, the piece standing next to the king, well, it wasn't a queen at all. It was the mantri, a male minister or an advisor. His job wasn't to conquer, it was just to give a little advice.
And just look at this comparison. It's night and day. The original mantri could barely move, just one little square diagonally. Now think about the modern queen, who can just zip across the entire board in any direction she wants. The power gap is just staggering.
But here's the thing. The game didn't just stay put in India. No way. It started to travel, moving westward over centuries. And every time it landed in a new culture, the game, and this one little piece, started to morph. You can basically trace its path right here. It starts as the mantri in India. Then it becomes the vizier in Persia, and later the wazir in the Arab world. But the really huge shift, the game changer, happened when it got to medieval Europe. That's when players decided to swap out the male advisor for a queen to stand next to the king.
But, and this is a huge but, for hundreds and hundreds of years, this change was in name only. Sure, she was called the queen, but she was still just as weak, still stuck moving one single diagonal square. You can imagine how slow the games were. We're talking painfully slow, sometimes lasting for days. Okay, so now let's fast forward to the late 1400s in Europe. Because after all those centuries of slow, grinding chess, something happened. Everything changed, suddenly and dramatically. This is really the moment modern chess was born.
And what did they call this newly superpowered piece? La Dama Loca, the Mad Queen. I mean, how perfect is that name? It just perfectly captures the total chaos and deadly speed she brought to this once plodding game.
So how'd they do it? The rule change itself was pretty simple, but it changed everything. They just gave her total, unrestricted movement. Now she could move any way she wanted, horizontally, vertically, diagonally, and for as many squares as she wanted. Just like that, she went from the weakest piece on the board to the strongest.
Okay, so this begs the obvious question, right? Why? After 1,000 years, why this sudden radical power-up? Well, the answer isn't just about the game itself. It's about what was happening in the real world at the time.
The leading theory is pretty straightforward. Art was imitating life. See, this was the era of incredibly powerful female rulers, people like Isabella I of Castile. These were queens who were leading armies, funding voyages across the globe, and literally reshaping the map of Europe. The game, it seems, was just catching up to reality.
Now, powerful real-world queens are the main theory, for sure. But historians think there were a few other things going on too. For one, the bishop had also gotten a power boost, so the queen might have been upgraded just to keep the game balanced. And maybe the simplest reason of all? People were just bored. They were tired of slow games and wanted something faster and more exciting.
So what was the fallout from creating this so-called Mad Queen? Well, it did way more than just speed things up. It completely reinvented chess, turning it from a slow war of inches into a fast, dynamic game of sharp, tactical blows.
Her new power immediately made her the star of the show. You've got famous openings like the Queen's Gambit, all centered around her. She's at the heart of legendary moves like the incredible Queen Sacrifice in the famous Immortal game. In today's game, she's simply the ultimate weapon.
And what makes her so dangerous is her incredible versatility. Look at this. She is a top-tier attacker and a top-tier defender. No other piece on the board can do both things so well, which makes her absolutely essential in every single part of the game.
And here's a wild little fun fact for you. You only start the game with one queen, right? But if a player somehow manages to get all 8 of their pawns to the other side of the board, they could theoretically have 9 queens at once. Can you even imagine the madness of that game? So when you really step back and look at it, the queen that we all know and fear today is actually a pretty modern invention. Her journey from that weak little advisor to this unstoppable force on the board, it's a perfect mirror of our own history, our politics, and even just our need for a better, more exciting game. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on, doesn't it? If the game has always changed to reflect the world of the people playing it, it really makes you wonder what the next evolution of chess is going to be.